Hmm. Thanks. All right, it's Wednesday and we're on array lists. So we're gonna do an activity with array lists here. I've um just recently updated this activity to a game called Yahtzee um for this. I've taught this before, but I hadn't taught for a while in this class. And so I want to bring it back, I think, because I think this array list area is a really good way to look at this. So you go down to Unit 12 and scroll down to the learning activity Yahtzee. We'll talk a little bit about this game, how it's set up, and then we'll download the code that tries to implement this game. And then your job will be to try to fill in some of the details of this game here. So I'm going to go first. The first link is just the Wikipedia article for Yahtzee here. So this is has anyone ever played Yahtzee? I don't know if anyone has played or knows what Yahtzee is. Anyone here ever played Yahtzee? That's a little disappointing, but that's okay. It's now you'll certainly put it on your Christmas list or your holiday list and learn it or play it online here. So it's a game with 5 dice, and you can play it by yourself, or you can play it with others here. Um, and again, it's been out for a long time here. And again, there's a score pad, and you roll the dice and you enter your scores on the score pad. Um, there are kind of 2 sections of the score pad. One is the upper section there. And so let's say you rolled some dice here. So like here, an example, we rolled 2, a 2, a 2, a 5, and a 6 there. We could say we have a bunch of 2s, so we're going to score that as a 2 with 2s there. If you don't have very many, like if you have a 1, a 1, a 2, a 2, a 5, you could score that as 5s here and get 5 out of that. So the score, so again, there's these 1 through 6, and you can score it. And you only get to score in each category once. So once you've scored your 2s, you can't use 2s again. That slot is kind of filled up with things there. So you might roll and get a bunch of 2s and score that. And later on, you might get more 2s, but you'll have to score something else because you've already used the 2s slot for this. And in any of these slots, the score is simply the total of the dice of that type. So under 6s, if you rolled 3 6s, your score would be 18 because that's 3 6s there. How'd that go for explanation? There are also the lower section here, and there are different things you can score there. There's a 3 of a kind. So if you get 3 dice of the same kind, you score that here. There's 4 of a kind. There's a full house, which is 3 match one value and 2 match another one. There's a large straight where all the dice are in sequence. So you either go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 there, but all 5 dice are in order. There's a small straight where 4 of the dice are in order. So you might get like 3, 4, 5, 6. Those 4 dice are in order. Yahtzee's when all the dice are the same here for this. And chance is just any combination of dice you can use. And then, so some of these have fixed scores. So like a small straight is always worth 30, a large straight's always worth 40, and a Yahtzee is always worth 50, no matter what you're rolling. Some of them are, you sum up all the dice. So for chance, 3 of a kind or 4 of a kind, you sum up all the dice for those here. If you want to look more at the rules, this is another explanation of the rules, but I actually think it might be easier to just kind of try it out. So here's an online version of the game here. So I'm going to roll my dice. I'm down at the bottom here. I'm just going to roll my dice. So I've got a 3, a 5, a 5, a 6, a 6. I've got a couple fives, so I'm going to keep those there. I'm going to click on that 5 and that 5. And then I get to re-roll these dice that I want. So I'm going to keep a couple dice and re-roll some of the dice. So I've re-rolled them. I didn't get any more fives. I'm going to re-roll them again. So I got one more 5 there. So I got 3 5s, a 1, and a 4. And so I can score this in lots of places over here. So here's my scorecard. But again, I have 3 5s. I'm going to score that as 5s. I'm going to put that there. Now the other person is going to score hit their dice. And now I'm going to score my dice. Going to roll my dice. Let's see. I've got a 1, a 2, a 5, a 5, and a 4. I'm going to try the 5s again and roll the dice. Oh, I didn't get any more. I'm going to grab the 2s because they're matching and roll the dice. And I got another 5. So this is actually a full house, right? 5, 5, 5, 3, and then 2. It's also 3 of a kind. So I could either do 3 of a kind or full house here. I'm going to do full house, I guess. Now I could do 5s again because I've already done those there. So this is how it is. You run this. You pick what dice you want to keep. So maybe I've got 2 2s here. Maybe I want to do that. I didn't get any more 2s. I get another roll. I didn't get any more 2s. So I've got a couple 2s. I don't have 3 of a kind or 4 of a kind. I could score 4 of a kind, but I won't get any points from that. But I could score 2s. I got 2 2s. I could also score 3s there. So why don't you try this Yahtzee out a little bit. See if you can figure out the rules a little bit on this Yahtzee game. So again, we're in Unit 12, Learning Activity Yahtzee. Go down to this intro of the game and you can try this online Yahtzee game and see if you can play that. You want to roll your dice and then you click on the dice you want to keep and then you roll them again and you get a total of 3 rolls, your initial roll and then 2 re-rolls here. So again, we clicked on this GitHub project link, grab the URL here. Then within NetBeans, we're going to go up to team and then Git. Now, if you don't see Git there, you might be in a project that already what has Git enabled. Like if I'm here on this project, I go Teams, it doesn't show Git up here. So if you're that, you just have to click on some project that doesn't have the word master here, meaning it's linked to GitHub. And then I can just go Teams, Git, clone, and I'm going to paste the URL in here and just hit finish. And it should clone it and say open the project here. And then you just want to find the project. It'll be Unit 12 Yahtzee here. So here's Unit 12 Yahtzee. Now we can try to play this game, and this is just a real basic user interface. It's not any graphics on this version, because I wanted to give you an initial version that I think you can largely understand all of it here. So I'm just going to run this and look at the run here. So it gives me my initial dice, 3, 5, 4, 5, 1. And it asks me, do I want to re-roll each dice? So I want, and I got a couple fives there. I might want to keep the fives. So I'm going to re-roll that 3. The 5 I'm going to keep, so I'm going to say no. The 4 I'm going to re-roll and say yes. The next 5 I'm going to say no, not to keep that, not re-roll that. And the last one I'm going to re-roll. So now my new dice are 1, 5, 1, 5, 1 here. And now I want to see where I want to score these. Okay, so that's similar to this game here, where I roll the dice. I then say which ones I want to keep and which ones I want to re-roll. And I can re-roll them. Now, in this game, you can actually re-roll multiple times. You get 2 re-rolls, but you don't in this version, we just do 1 re-roll. Keep it simple. And then I decide where I want to score this. So do I want to score it as like, I actually got a Yahtzee here, I want to score that, or I want to score it as like 4 of a kind here. So I can score it in different things. So similar here, here's my different areas. What do I want to score this? I've got a couple 5s and up 1s. I'm going to score this as 5s, I think. So I'm just going to say score this as 5s. So now I've got my 5 scored there, but it should have given me some points. It didn't give me any points for that. And now I have some new dice and I can re-roll. And for now, it's going to always give me 0 points for everything. So that's your job, is to try to fix the scoring here. So let me hit stop here. So at the top here are some methods for doing the scoring that we want to look at here. For example, let's see if I can make this a little big. Here's the Yahtzee method. You're given an array list of integers called dice. You want to check that they're all the same value. And if so, the score should be 50, otherwise the score is 0. So right now, all we say is the score is 0 and return that. You have to add some code here to check if all the dice are the same value here for that. Similar like to full house or 4 of a kind here, or 3 of a kind for these. So your job is to try to put in some scoring for these areas for this. So why don't you pick one of these? Some of I think the simplest ones are like Yahtzee, where again, you're just going to check if all the dice values are the same. And if so, they get a score of 50, otherwise 0. That's a nice, easy one. Chance is also a nice one. You just add up all the dice and return that as the score. So why don't you pick one of these that you want to try out and see if you can code one of these to work. Okay, so download the game, get it here, score one of these initial values or examples here. If some of you are not playing the game but actually working on the code, here's two suggestions that I noticed. I thought these were in here, but they weren't. There's two utility functions that I think are very helpful when doing this. One is to sum up the dice. A utility is to sum up the dice. So I like to write a little utility. It'll return an integer and it'll sum up the dice. I just call it sum up the dice. And again, we give it the array of dice, the array list of dice. So how do we sum up the dice? How do we add up all the values in here with this dice? So I'm going to start with setting sum to 0, and then I'm going to loop through. And so again, with array lists, we often use the for each loop. I'm just going to go through each thing. So for each of the die in dice, so that loop will set die equal to each of the die in this dice array list here. See if I'm here. And then I guess I got to say for int, oops, I'm in the wrong one. Die in dice. That's what I want. So, and then I'm just going to add up each die to my sum. So I'm just going to say sum equals sum plus the die. And then I'll return that sum. So this will loop through, set die equal to each value of the dice here, add it to the sum and return the sum. So this would add or get the sum of all my dice. And for a lot of the scores, that's what the score is. If you have that, you get the sum of the dice. Another one that's really helpful is the count. Like count how many fives are in your dice. So we have some value we want to count, like count the number of threes in your dice there. And then we have the dice itself. So we have an array list of dice and we have some value. And again, the loop is very similar to that. We're going to initialize count equal to 0. We're going to say int do each die for each die in dice. So we're going to loop through for each die in dice. And we're going to just check if the die is equal to the value, whatever we're checking, we're going to add 1 to the count. So again, if we're checking how many threes there are here, we can do that, check that out. And we can check if the current die is a 3, and if so, add 1 to the count, and then it'll go to the next die and check if that die is a 3 and add 1 to the count, and another one here. So this is another one. So I'm going to paste these two methods in our code here. So if you want to use those or look at those, you might have to reload the learning activity, but those are two utilities I think that are very helpful. Has anyone tried or got any of these working? Did someone try Yahtzee or Chance or any of the other categories? How'd that go? Can you describe what you did? I'm gonna give you about 10 more minutes and let's hear from some people on what they did. Um, One area you might also want to look at is this category scoring. That's at the beginning here where you're saying, I'm going to score my like twos or my fours. And you just count how many fours you have or how many twos you have. So for that, we're given our dice and we're given the category like twos or fours. And then your job is to count how many of like what how many fours did you get? So again, if the category is two there and this is your dice, you just got one, you have 1, 2 here. So your score is just going to be 2, 1 times the count of that. And again, that's one place where using this count value is a nice, will help you do that stuff. So